Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about step by step how to apply to law school. I am a first generation law student. I don't have any lawyers in my family, and so this entire process was really stressful, really daunting, and just confusing for me, and I kind of just had to figure it out on my own. So I'm hoping this will help some of you guys out who are in a similar position as I was, and hopefully this is somewhat insightful. But before we get into it, I would love to have you as a subscriber, and I will also link all of my social media down below. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I kind of have this written out in 3 different steps, and then we'll talk about kind of the costs of applying to law school at the very end. So the first step is to basically just set up your entire account. So go to lsac.org and make your account. If you've already taken the LSAT, you have this account already, but if you haven't and you're in the very, very early stages of putting your application together, go ahead and make your LSAC account. This is exactly where you'll apply, where you'll register for the LSAT, where you're going to submit your transcript, your letters of recommendation. All of that is going to be through the LSAC website, so go ahead and make an account for that. And what I recommend doing next is, if you have already taken your LSAT and you have your score and you already have your account set up, I would go ahead and add all of the schools that you want to apply to, and you can actually go in to the website and search the schools and save them, so you have like a My Schools kind of category in your account. And I feel like that's just a lot easier to kind of narrow down, see where you're applying, and it's also easy access to the applications once you actually get going with it. So that's kind of like the general stuff. You have your account set up, you know which schools you're applying to, and now we kind of have to get into how to actually apply and going through the application process. So step 2 is basically uploading all of the important documents and the things that you definitely need before you apply. So first, you need to submit your official transcript. Now, how you do that is you can do it electronically or via mail. I recommend doing electronically because it just saves so much time and you're not worried about it being lost in the mail, and it's a lot simpler, and I highly recommend doing that. Unfortunately, my school didn't have the option to electronically send transcripts from my school to LSAC, and so I had to mail it in, and the school itself has to mail it in. You can't mail it in yourself, so you can't order a transcript, have it in your hands, and then you yourself mail it to LSAC, because it's a risk of like tampering and stuff like that. And so you have to get your school to send it directly to LSAC, whether again it's electronically or by mail. So make sure you upload your transcript, and once they receive it, the CAS system, which I will talk about in a second, kind of recalculates your GPA. It doesn't make like a significant change or anything, but it does have its own like system and its own software that it uses to recalculate your GPA. So when your CAS GPA is available and it's not exactly what it says on your transcript, don't freak out. That's just how it is, and sometimes it's like 0.02 lower or 0.02 higher. Like, it does vary sometimes. For me, it increased significantly because when you're submitting your transcripts, you have to submit them from every single undergrad that you went to. So whether you took one class from a community college or you graduated from a university and took all your classes there, you have to give the transcript for everything. And I personally took community college classes when I was in high school. That's still an undergrad, and I had to submit my transcripts from there. I had to submit my transcript from my official undergrad where I graduated and got my bachelor's, and then I also took a class at another community college during school, as well as a different community college during my undergrad as well. So I had 4 different transcripts that I had to send out. Definitely not going to be the case for everybody, but the community college classes that I took, I did end up getting significantly higher grades than my undergrad, and so when CAS recalculated their GPA, it was higher than what my bachelor's degree GPA was, if that makes sense. I hope I'm not being confusing, but basically submit all your transcripts from everywhere, and you may or may not see a difference in your GPA, but don't freak out. That's just how the system is. And then the second thing that I recommend just going ahead and uploading is your letters of recommendation. Now, if you haven't asked for your letters of recommendation yet, do that like ASAP. So I would give them like at least 2 months to write your letter of recommendation, because whoever you ask is going to be really busy. They have other things to do. Like, they're not going to just sit down and crank this letter out in like 24 hours. That is just not going to happen. So give them like significant time to write your letter of recommendation, and they are responsible of uploading it to LSAC. So essentially how letters of recommendation work are, you go into your LSAC account and you go into the letters of recommendation category, and you have to request a letter. So you need, I think, their name, their email, just some information about them, and you just hit submit, and LSAC will do the rest for you. So they will send out the recommender an email saying, here's how you upload, here's where you need to upload. All of the instructions will be given to them, and you have an option whether or not you are able to view the letter of recommendation before it's submitted. I highly recommend that you hit no, because it just shows that you didn't really have anything to do with what is said in the letter. It shows that there wasn't any tampering, that you didn't, you know, edit the letter yourself to make it sound better or anything like that. Just hit no. Just trust me, hit no. And yeah, so all of the instructions, everything will be given to the recommender, and they will write their letter on their own time and upload it themselves. And then once they upload it and LSAC has received it, you will be able to see that their letter was uploaded. You won't be able to view it because you hit no, because you should hit no, but you will see that the letter has been uploaded. So make sure you have all of those kind of documents in check. There isn't really anything else significant that needs to be uploaded by you. So just your transcript and your letters of recommendation, make sure those are in. Like, you will be able to see once those are uploaded. So always be checking for that. Okay, and then the third kind of category or step that I have is the application itself. So basically you have to purchase this thing called CAS. And CAS is kind of LSAC's system that compiles everything in your application into what is called a law school report. And this report is what is sent to each individual school. Now, it's mandatory to purchase CAS, which I think is really frustrating, but it's, I think, $195, and that is just something you have to do. And they will basically recalculate your GPA and compile your transcripts. They will get your letters of recommendations together. They will get your application together, all of your documents, like everything they put in this one neat little report and send it to the school, and that is what the school views when they're looking at your application. Now, what's really frustrating and really fantastic about the legal system and legal education is you also have to pay an additional $45 for every single school you apply to for this report. So purchasing CAS is just cool. You have a subscription to the system. It lasts for 5 years after you purchased it. Now you have to pay for every single school that you actually apply to. So every single law school report that CAS is compiling for you, you have to pay $45. Doesn't make sense to me, but just throwing it out there because I didn't know this. So $195 for that and $45 per school that you apply to. Okay, and then you fill out the application. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a lot of it is just general information, and what I found is once I saved my information for one school, it kind of transferred over into the other one. So like your name, your birthday, your home, like where you were born, like all of that, like your parents' information, just all of like the general background information, whether you were in the military, if you know, like all of that kind of stuff, disabilities, everything. That is a significant portion of the application, but it goes by really quickly. Now, the main few things are your resume, your personal statement, if you have an addendum, and any additional essays that the school either requires or has optional. Now, I highly recommend doing the optional essays. Just do them. They're not optional. If it says optional, it's not optional. Like, do it. But yeah, those are kind of like the main things that go into the application. So I personally wrote my personal statement on a Google Doc and then downloaded it as a PDF and uploaded it onto my application. It has like an option to upload a file under your personal statement. That's what I did. Same thing with my resume. I formatted it and everything in Word and then downloaded it as a PDF, made sure everything was good, and then uploaded it under the resume section. So I recommend doing this because you don't have to type out everything on the application itself. It just makes more sense. And I think that's honestly the only option you have. You have to upload a file. But for some instances, such as the addendum and the optional essays and also like required essays, for some schools, you have the ability to write the essay in the application itself rather than writing it beforehand and then uploading a file. I highly recommend still writing it somewhere else and then uploading it. It just makes editing so much easier. You don't have to constantly like come back to your application. It just makes more sense. So I highly recommend doing that. And then at the end, you basically have your entire application completed. And then you are required, like by LSAC, like it will not let you go to the next step until you preview the entire PDF of your entire application. So it'll compile it into all of a PDF format, and you'll see your entire application as the admissions committee will see it. Not your like transcripts or letters of recommendation or anything, but your actual like application itself. So highly recommend like triple, quadruple checking that. Like it is so important that you make sure every single thing is correct on there. Just do it. It'll save you so much stress later on. If you accidentally notice something later because you didn't look it over, that would suck. So look over everything like that. As long as you have an LSAT score available, you can hit submit. But I recommend not doing that until you have assigned your letters of recommendation. So basically what that means is you go into your letters of recommendation section. Below however many people you have who have given you a letter of recommendation, it's a list of all of the schools with the applications that you have open. And what you do is you basically have to assign letters of recommendation to each school. And this is just in case let's say you have 4 different letters of recommendation and you want 2 to go to one school, but then the other 2 to go to a different school. That just makes it a lot easier, so you can like pick and choose which letters are going to which school. It's not just like all of your letters of recommendation are going to every single school that you're applying. I personally didn't really care. I had 2 letters of recommendation and I assigned them to every single school, and then you just hit submit. Now, if you have an instance where you have a letter of recommendation that is specific to a school, obviously assign it to that school and not the others. But other than that, for the most part, I think a majority of people have the same letter of recommendation going to every single school. So just go ahead and assign it and then click into each school and hit submit. And then you're done. You'll get an email confirmation, and that's about it. You have applied to law school. Congratulations. So the last kind of part of this video that I want to talk about is kind of the overall costs of applying to law school. I'm obviously not going to talk about the costs of attending law school because one, I don't know. I haven't gone to law school yet. That's also something that a lot of people already kind of know. I feel like applying to law school has so many little secret hidden costs that people don't realize, at least I didn't. So let's kind of talk about the costs. So first, I already mentioned these 2 things, but the CAS subscription is $195, and then each law school report is $45. I applied to 12 schools, so I had to pay 12 times $45 for every single school, which was ridiculous. And then on top of each law school report, you also have to pay a school-specific application fee. So each school has a different application fee. For me, it varied from like $70 to I think like $110. That was kind of like the range that I paid. I know some schools are cheaper, some schools are more expensive. Whatever the school's application fee is, you have to pay that. I highly recommend trying to get fee waivers for this. It's a lot more common than you might think. I did get a fee waiver for one of the schools that I applied to, so even though it was only one school, that was $85 that I saved. So highly recommend just asking for fee waivers, and different schools will have different places where you ask for it. Just look on the school's website. It should be in like their frequently asked questions, and if not, I'm sure they have like an email where you can just shoot them an email and ask them how to get a fee waiver or if you can get a fee waiver. So just do a little bit of research on that because it's so school specific. I can't really direct you to one particular place, but Highly, highly recommend doing that. And then there's obviously also a cost of submitting your transcript. So I don't know how it is at a lot of schools, but for every single undergrad that I had taken classes at that I had to submit a transcript for, all 4 of them had some sort of transcript fee. So I know my official undergrad was $20. There were 2 of them that were like only $5, and then there was another one which I can't remember the cost for, but it does cost to send your transcripts. So keep that in mind. Don't think that you can just freely send a bunch of transcripts and you can update them all the time and all of this. Like, you have to be really strategic about when you send your transcript because it costs money. So that is definitely something to consider. It's not a significant cost of your law school application. I mean, $45 times 12 schools like I paid is significantly more than my like $40 that I spent on my transcripts, but it is a cost to consider that I didn't. And then, of course, your LSAT. If you are applying to law school, you need an LSAT score, and so to take the LSAT, it's $200 to take the LSAT. So $200, I took the LSAT twice, so every time you take the LSAT, you have to pay the $200 fee, so that's great. And then the last kind of cost that I can think of is if you have anyone kind of editing your essays or looking over your personal statement or your resume or anything like that. If you hire someone to do that, that is another cost that you need to consider. I personally just got my parents to edit my resume and then got a few select people to read over my personal statement who I knew would be unbiased and would give me really solid feedback, and it was just like friends and family, so obviously like that didn't cost me anything. But I do know some people who will literally hire like for writing help, and that if that's something that you're interested in, that's another cost that you might need to consider. Those are kind of all of my tips and kind of steps on how to apply to law school. I really hope that this video helped at least a little bit, and if you have any questions, always feel free to leave them down below. You can also DM me on Instagram. Feel free to message me. I would love to chat with you and chat more about law school, but that is going to be all for today's video. I hope you have a really good morning or night or wherever you are, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.